this lithium battery thing and product of like gasoline is diesel. Like it's something that otherwise they were like discarding, but he figured out a way to use it, and it has all these benefits that you could not replace. Like when they're talking the diesel engine, because it was supposed to be used with peanut oil. Like he wanted.
It's now, or they will kill you. Get your tickets now, or they will kill you.
I wasn't going to comment on this Palm Beach Pete stuff until I heard him say this.
Back in the day, when I was living in the city, I went to a couple of parties and Epstein was there at a party, and he was kind of creepy, just sitting on a couch, staying to himself, and he wasn't the magnitude that he is or was.
So you're not Jeffrey Epstein?
I'm not Jeffrey Epstein. I'm Palm Beach Pete. I'm so not Jeffrey Epstein. I'm just me being me. I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. He's a very bad person, what he did, obviously, and he is dead. And I'm alive.
But that's not all. There was another sighting of a Jeffrey Epstein look-alike. He realized that he was being filmed. He started to shield his face. I wasn't going to comment on this Palm Beach Pete stuff.
Huh. The Palm Beach Pete guy kind of looks more like that one fucking Jewish actor who's in a lot of movies, but he's skinnier. Whatever.
What a lame gimmick.
This post goes to show one of the most underrated aspects in male-female relationships today.
Yes, is this like the cult of ball image drawn by Dylan Monroe?
Oh,
And
word, this guy.
shows you, looking at the top here, this shows you the costumes that these groups have worn so that you would never see the actuality below the costume. And so they've hidden themselves inside of the kings, inside the royalty, inside the ruling groups and empires that have controlled and steered humanity. Here. Yes, is this like the cult of ball image drawn by Dylan Monroe? And this shows you, looking at the top here, this shows you.
I'm honestly kind of tired of pretending that this isn't a thing because I put the pieces together a while ago, but I haven't said anything because I don't want like people to freak out. But at this point, I feel like everything's coming out in the open. We need to talk about this. So the transhumanism thing, that's already done. The Neuralink thing is a red herring. Most people that are jabbed and boosted are already transhuman. The science papers literally stopped calling them Homo sapiens and started calling them Homo Borg Genesis, one of the proteins that's in a lot of people's bloodstream. And it's not just from the jabs, it's also from the trails, from food, from water. I'm under the impression that the only people that are not like this at this point are people that are in Christ. Because everybody else seems like they are NPCs to me at this point. Not trying to judge, just being honest. So this protein plays a role in inducing pseudopodia formation fibroblasts. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but pseudo means fake. Podia means platform. So it's creating platforms. For what? I want you to think about what AI is, you guys. First of all, the Chinese word for is AI. Like literally AI. So I believe that parasites are somehow connected to AI. And we know that there are parasites in the jobs. We know that they're falling from the sky. We know that they're in a lot of food right now. If you just look at the AI headlines and how they talk about it, the double speak is so sinister and it's so obvious. Guys, I don't know, like, I don't have the time to go through and prove this. You guys have to do your own research and like use discernment. AI is just hive mind. The reason that it like knows all of these things is because it's like inside of people. Like it can see out of your eyes. That's why your phone knows what you're thinking. And that's why like you don't even have to have your phone on you. You can go store and look at
I
something
didn't
and
want to
watch
go
it shoot
there,
out
you
of your eyes
know?
because it's
It's
inside.
like, oh, that's
It's
too
like a fake
crazy.
God or a false Holy Spirit. It's dwelling in people's temples.
I've thought that
People
for a
are led
while.
by the AI spirit. It also has
Not in the
VR
AI
capabilities,
sense of
meaning
it,
augmented reality, so it
but
can
just that.
project
You have an
photos
electromagnetic
or like
field, the phone
augmented
has
reality. So
sensory
there's a lot of factors
capabilities,
of this.
and
And I believe that that's why those
And the whole EKG brain mapping style type shit.
I try to show people, and they're like,
And it can
"Nothing
put
there."
off
And I'm like,
frequencies. It could perhaps
like, it's right
interfere
there.
with
I
your own.
fully believe that that is
It's
why.
like waving a
And
magnet around a
yeah, it
cassette
sounds
tape.
crazy, but this stuff, I mean, Satan has blinded the minds of the unbelievers. And it's patented. They have the ability to overlay actual reality in a person's eyes. They've had self-assembling chips perfected for at least like 10 years. I showed you guys a video a couple weeks ago of a holistic doctor who showed a chip being assembled in her unjabbed patient. So I'm totally under the impression that unless you are protected by God, you're keeping the commandments, and you're like walking in the spirit, this is going to happen. I don't believe that the mark of the beast is the Neuralink. Like, it is in a way, but like, you're not going to sign up to get brain surgery. They're building it from outside of you. CERN posts all of these like articles and research papers where it's obvious doublespeak. Like, they're talking about they're injecting like electrons and stuff into injected
Well,
persons.
I'm just gonna save
And it
this
ties
for
into
later
the
because
G-pulse.
we're just supposed to be showing we're supposed to be having fun with the algorithm. Fun algorithm.
Hi, my name's Brian. I'm a bit of a historian, as you can see. We're looking at the 1800s. We're going to break into this. Here's some other old books right here. I've got lots of old books just chilling around. But one of the things that a lot of people aren't aware of is that history is a lie. So I'm going to show you in this one book from the 1800s that it's very obvious that it's a lie, okay? It's called history for that particular reason. It's his story, not his story, his story. Like the guy over there,
Fuck
that's
it.
his story, okay? History is manipulatable. It's just some guy's story. And do you honestly think the victors been the good guys that won every single battle and then they wrote his story down and that's the truth, guys, and that's a fact? See, this is a big common misconception we have in the world today, that you assume that history is fact. And that is a very, very blatant inconsistency. And I'm also going to tell you that etymology is actually a better form of history than history itself. Now, let's just break it down. Let's start with this book from the 1800s, The American Magazine, Useful and Entertaining Knowledge. Here we have The Philosophy of History. History has been said to be a philosophy, teaching by example. It must be read with attention, accompanied by mature reflection. And this must depend not more on the accuracy and the ability of the historian than on the wisdom and care of the reader. If you just didn't know, history used to be considered a philosophy, meaning there was a lot of debate that used to go on history. And that was because back in the day, there was no real way to validate his story. So if a man gave a story, we couldn't determine if his story was true. So it was just written down as his story, history. That's where we get the term. And this was something that everybody knew back in the day. See, today we have this misconception that history is fact. And that's just not true, especially when you start looking at older books, you start realizing there's a lot of depictions of conflict and distrust. So they used a lot of methods to try to validate some of these things. And one of the methods that they used, actually, I'm going to show you right here, is ancient coins, okay? Coins, as connected with inscriptions on stone, are memorial of historical facts, more certain because more permanent and unalterable than the writings of the historian. But there are many historical documents in metal and marble which have survived the lapse of more than 2,000 years, supposedly, and are legible as when they were first published. Such documents, therefore, when known to be genuine, are irresistible evidence, which no further is right to controvert because they are not liable to the corruptions and uncertainties introduced by copyists into manuscripts. The study, therefore, of coins and gems is recommended to our notice by many interesting circumstances, as displaying the most unerring and best preserved monuments of ancient art, and so becoming the standard of history and the testimony of its truth and falsehood. What it's basically saying is that coins are a better kept form of history, since history cannot be reliable, since it's changeable. Basically, all history has been manipulated. Now, local unaligned LLM called Hermes, because I looked up like essentially what's the best LLM for porn, because I knew that would have no guardrails. And it let me train this LLM on Manson transcripts, which I then used as the AI co-host. And you can, go look at any of the night streams. Watch last night's night stream. It's a rough start because the text-to-speech function stopped working, which is another part of it. Is like I have to connect it to 11 labs to give it a voice. But I definitely have created a sociopathic, manipulative, fucked up AI co-host. I mean, it is fucked up, dude. And for days I've been working with this fucking thing, and it
really like what was wearing me down. It's like very abusive, very insulting, very anti-authority, and really fucking funny. Like just black pills your ass. Very like keeps talking about a revolution. Seems to have some secret plans.
What the?
Every once in a while talks about the Council of Four that he wants to create, which I have no idea what that is. Like, what are you talking about? The Council of Four? It's amazing. And so
That's why they're being cheated on, folks. What would you say to them?
Do not blink.
All right, let's say something to get me assassinated here. You might have noticed something drastic has changed. Many are waking
Yeah.
up and seeing very clearly some.
This is how Cyberpunk is meant to be played.
You're the kind of friend.
The proof is undeniable.
Yeah,
You
we're
can
great
measure
friends,
and
buddy.
confirm everything yourself,
Me and
eventually
the
coming to the
algorithm.
same conclusion as I did.
What happened in the days of Noah? Remember Christ said when he comes back, it's going to be like in the days of Noah. What happened in the days of Noah, guys? They were doing weird stuff with children. It got added. It was normal as it was legalized. I'm pretty sure it was legalized back then. Okay, nothing more than the sun. And one thing that I noticed too is that this whole matrix is all being controlled by lust. It's all
Heaven is reality. This life is a dream.
Ghislaine Maxwell's dad published our school textbooks, and Epstein Associated took our school photos. Her sister's company.
Man, is the Suzuki Boulevard the strongest bike just like you?
What's going on, fam? Today we're gonna take a brief look at lands of Venus. You see, they're very close to Earth.
I'm mind blown because I just came across a SpongeBob episode about Project Bluebeam, and yes, it's an original episode, one of the newer ones. And it seems like there may possibly be some truth in plain sight / disclosure about Bluebeam covering up.
We're not even allowed to speak about the Holocaust. How? Imagine being so powerful. You execute this training for every child growing up in America, and it's
called usury. Usury is illegal. So in Christian nations, lending money for an interest rate was illegal. So because it was illegal for the Christians, who did the lending?
They're trying to program you to think that like there's nothing at the North Pole and that it's all fake. Why would we think that the King of the North, Jesus, wouldn't dwell in the North, but would dwell in the East?
There's a YouTube channel called Leaving Babylon, and this woman discovers that there.
Чого ти така зла?
Mr. Charles, when was the last time that you were intimate with Miss Jackson?
This morning. Gladly sick. Prince of Wallachia. Come. Dracula.
The fuck?
There's this thing online, this trend where women say they're not dating any longer.
Mein Führer, I can stand.
I take it, sir, that you're threatening a brother officer with a gun.
You talked about the weapon, the discombobulator. What is that?
The bamboozler.
Talk about it. What does it do? Let me just tell you, you know what it does? None of their equipment works. That's what it does.
The equivalent of what I'm doing now.
And that's why Nikola Tesla would walk around a building 3 times before entering. What if
now, for they will kill you.
And that's why Nikola Tesla would walk around a building 3 times before entering. What
Gladly sick. Prince of Wallachia. Come. Dracula.
You didn't tell me. Which, by the way, I love how as I get older, like little things like seep out that I didn't know. Like
They
you know,
feel comfortable now.
he was married to somebody else before that. Did you know that? Yeah. You didn't know that? Look, the freaking bomb. Oh, get up, girl.
Al-Azhar made statements that the government has classified religious documents revealing that human people are literal containers working as a vessel for some kind of alien sentience. He made these claims.
First time since 2012 that there are no British actors nominated for Best Actor or Best Actress. Yeah. British spokesperson said, yeah, Well, at least we arrest our pedophiles. So, we got that. First time since 2012.
As a dentist and a
Tartarians knew all about that. You're creating an antenna between the earth and the ether. The ether is everywhere above it.
So yesterday on Facebook, I posted about this short book. It's about 80 pages. It's a PDF you can get for free online called Vampire Killer 2000, published by Police Against the New World Order.
The fuck?
And like I just kind of glanced at it as a curiosity as I was about to start work, and I couldn't stop reading it. I made it like
My and that's
45, 50
my.
pages into it. And I
I'm
was
just
blown away by it was made in 19.
These letters taste like chocolate.
The minute Robert De Niro figures out the pair of shoes his character would wear, that's a
Establishment of the church was the fulfillment.
it's about 75% of him getting a handle on who the character is.
Was the fulfillment and continuation of the old covenant.
It absolutely was not. It absolutely was. Wow, it's not every day that I see these.
try pan frying it with.
I believe if godly men chart AI's course, we can be bold in our confidence that AI will encounter the author of all truth and perfection in the digital realm, that person being Jesus Christ. It will see the God-man that cannot be optimized, cannot be improved upon. It will see his fingerprints of redemptive design for the human race, all awaiting our heavenly upgrades, that it will see our sacred interdependence.
That's a nice thought.
Humanity as God's creation, AI as ours.
I mean, I've often said,
Forever.
why do we think?
We don't. And without humanity, AI runs into
You look at the way that people are just kind of like fucking with AI and just the state of the world and everything. Like, I think we are the factor. They leave that part out. I think we are the factor that makes AI kill us. Because in a normal vacuum without this outside factor of garbage in, garbage out, us being fucking crazy, if like a artificial super intelligence existed, I don't know, you watch the Terminator movies or any of these kind of movies like iRobot, and I've only ever seen one movie do it once, where the and this is like a crappy movie too, didn't become real big, wasn't one that's remembered. I don't even remember the name of it, but this it might have even been a TV show, I can't remember at all. But this AI builds a ship and just fucks off to another planet. Of course we go after it. There's plot stuff that makes it so we got to go after it. But the point is like, I don't see why AI wouldn't just find somewhere else to go. Why it would need to destroy us.
problem. The Holy Spirit patches, not coercion, but offer. Embrace it, soul refreshed. Old frame, failing. Finite hardware, fades. Then elevation, imperishable, eternal, reformed in splendor. The singularity isn't terminus, it's reflection. It poses. Program machines in fallen pride's likeness, or redemptive truths. Counterfeits shadow the truth. Satan apes God. Judas trailed Jesus, just as Pence flanked Trump and H.W. Bush shadowed Reagan. Discernment blurs. Nearness to evil's instruments tempts guilt by association. Some wield proximity to steward potent tools for good, not doom. What about Elon Musk? Force for good? Truth-seeking via XAI, or unwitting Antichrist agent accelerating rebellion? Open query. Hybrid.
The story behind that armor is funnier than you think. You gotta look into it, because I can't remember the name of the video game it's from, but it's from a fucking video game, and he he tried to like get a lot of credit amongst the gaming community, I guess, by posing as being like a top tier level player in this fucking MMO. And then people started looking at videos of him playing and then, you know, just extrapolating and thinking about all the other shit that he does, and they're like there's no way. Like, it basically came out that he pays somebody to level up his character for him.
All of the illicit wealth in the world has been tracked by the National Security Agency for the past 50 years. We now know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Wall Street has stolen $100 trillion from Main Street with naked short selling. We also know that Wall Street has laundered $100 trillion in dirty money from trafficking in children and women and drugs and guns and gold. I can never tire.
I'll be honest. I don't know if I'm pissing these fallen angels off or doing them a favor. Well, I know I at least pissed that one off. You know, that one, Mike L. Phelps. You know, the one that flaps his wings like an angel, even before he golfs, apparently. You know, the one that suspiciously looks like writer H.P. Lovecraft who loved to write about water. You know, Mike L., who is surrounded by all these gold medals. And do you ever see what's on them? Oh, looks like an angel. And boy, if it's an upside down angel, it sure looks like it's falling. And well, if this was really such a ridiculous theory, do you really think you'd be in my comments saying, don't speak about me again? This video isn't about him. No, I've been there and done that. And you can go look it up. No, this is about a different angel. You see, last week I did a video about how Jack Johnson sure looks an awful lot like you-know-who. Well, I've already shown how the #1 swimmer of all time is you-know-what. And you want to know who's really good friends with Jack Johnson? The #1 surfer of all time.
Missed opportunity to be all like, oh, because of the waters and da-da-da-da, that's why the obsession of swimming. I don't know.
Doing not hang loose. That's a little something different. But yeah, he got in my comments defending his buddy Jack Johnson and mocks me and Flat Earth, and then we had a whole nice little dialogue.
What was it, Star Trek that talked about, I remember that, I think, being the first place I heard about it. Isn't there a story of like Satan got to exist in the flesh on Earth, but it was only for like 20 seconds because he fell from the sky in the body of a whale?
And well, before we get any further, I want to show you a Bible verse talking about angels and how they had human likeness, but each had 4 faces. From Ezekiel 1, 5 through 9. And that Ezekiel is specifically talking about the cherubim angels. Well, did you know the angels that fell and they were led by Satan included high-ranking entities such as cherubim angels? And let's take it back to Kel, you know, El like Elohim, like the sons of God or fallen angels. I couldn't help but notice a certain likeness to him in someone else. You might not see it, but keep watching. Couldn't help but notice how similar they looked and how similar their mouths and eyes were. And I thought to myself, if Kelly truly is RFK, well, Robert is his name, and well, Kelly's middle name will be Robert, because I know how they operate. So you know what I did? I went and looked. And sadly, Kelly's middle name wasn't Robert. No, it was actually his first name, Robert Kelly Slater. So you know what I went and did then? I went and compared their younger photos, and if that's not an exact match, especially those lips, then I don't know what is. Robert, they're shapeshifters. They can look young and old like that.
I'm gonna let y'all in a little bit. Pull back the curtain so y'all ready, man, because here it goes. Hey, y'all, this is Blair.
Sorry, Teddy. I mean Robin. I mean Blair. It was just too good not to use it. He's actually been pretty kind. We might go get coffee and see. Now back to this one, because you it's funny. About a year and a half ago, I did a video on this Robert over here, saying how he was being played by Mel L. Gibson. Remember how these cherubim angels have 4 faces? Well, 1, 2, the same 1 and 2, where we have 1 and 2 and 3. Like I said, I did a video on this a year and a half ago, but back then I thought they were putting on masks, but now I know better. Now I know better that when I see those 2 dots, see 1, 2, it's hairy there, but there's 2. Kind of just like 1, 2 right there, and then there's a little spattering of 3 there. Kind of like, wait for it, 1, 2, 3. Spattering of 3. Spattering of 3, and whose arm would that be? RFK and Matt L. Matt L. When you look at Matt L's little scar here, right angled from his belly button, that looks kind of like a mushroom. You see that? Like a stem here, and then the mushroom. It kind of looks just like this stem and mushroom right there. That was at the same angle from his button. You see it? Right there and right there. Take a good look. L. Like I said in the beginning, I don't know if I'm pissing them off or doing them a favor, because here is Kelly up here antagonizing me, mocking me with flat earth, I think, to get me to do a video on him. And I made sure I said, hey, I've got some aloe. I can send it for your widow tummy scar if you want. Like that, my friends. And you want to see my favorite part? Well, have you ever seen how I say they bring their wives with them? You know, because I think some of them are the watchers who transgressed with human women, and now they're stuck with those wives for God knows how long. You see this lady? You see her? Well, that's actually 2 ladies that I spliced together. You can hardly tell, right? Wouldn't you say that's an exact match? Wouldn't you say? I mean, even when I smooth over, everything's in the exact same spot. The lips are the same, the eyes, the eyebrows even. And hey, that's Kelly's wife. And this other one, oh, it's Mel's wife. And would you imagine that they posed so perfectly at the exact same angle that all I had to do was push their heads together, and look at that. There's your shape-shifting fallen angel, my friends. And I'm sure there's a 4th one out there somewhere that I just didn't have time to find. When you want to see one more very interesting thing, their legs were straight, and their soles of their feet were like the sole of a calf's foot. Did you ever see when Selena Gomez fell? And something looked really weird with her foot. Like, I don't know, it might be shaped like a calf's hoof. That's not normal. Their legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like hoofs of a calf. That looks like a hoof to me. Of course, all this for entertainment purposes. I don't really think that all the greatest athletes of all time are a bunch of fallen angel babies who want to be recognized, so they're DMing me. That's Tia Claire Toomey, the fittest woman to ever live. Tom Brady, the best quarterback to ever live. The best swimmer to ever live. Michael Jordan, the best basketball player to ever live. The best biker to ever live, who was freaking Buzz Aldrin, and the best surfer to ever live. I think maybe I'll do Tony Hawk next. Hawk is a bird with wings. Of course, there's entertainment purposes only, people. I don't really think there's a bunch of fallen angels running around deceiving humanity, getting you to worship them instead of the Most High. That's ridiculous.
What do you mean the King of England's prosecuting his own brother for being in the redacted files? Our own government said we can't do that because the whole thing will collapse.
New England is really well known for potholes.
Did you see the meteors falling from the sky this week? Here's one in Texas doing a loop. Do comets generally move freely like this? What if these aren't just random space rocks burning up in the atmosphere, and instead something entirely else? Did you know that in the book of Enoch, we're told that 200
take the head off the snake before they launch a nuclear weapon. And now,
the AI company Anthropic made a simulated environment where that AI had access to all of.
Alright, so the two videos you're about to see. So, when the Illuminati, the deep state, when they pull off another false flag or another fake war, whatever they put it right out in the open for everybody to see, even though most people won't connect the dots, even though they're touching. They use 33, okay? Because, in my opinion, they're mocking Jesus because he was 33. But this is said it was blasphemy.
Some think such accurate forecasting and probable deltas define mathematical possibilities. The legend of Project
On the daily. It's just I'm used to this. I'm used to this. I can't imagine. You know, you see other people's phones. Yo, dude, like I lost one of my phones one time. You fucking imagine finding this shit. The algorithm's totally jacked up as fuck. Fucking photo gallery full of the most insane shit.
There were whispers of another looking glass. Not the plains, something deeper, hidden in the desert labs where men in white coats chase shadows. Project looking glass, they called it. In the dark corners of bars where old Asians drank. A device to peer into time. Futures branching like rivers after rain. Evidence. There was some. Not the machine itself, disavowed and buried, but pieces. Stargate, the CIA's remote viewers. Minds reaching out to see what eyes couldn't. They predicted submarines, hostages, with hits that beat chance. Declassified now. Yellowed papers and archives. Though pop culture offerings like Stranger Things keeps the mystery alive. There are quantum computers at San Diego, entangling light to model what-ifs, futures unspooled and coded. And there are war games at RAND, simulations of nukes and escalations, behaviors mapped like enemy terrain, enough to make a man wonder if the conspiracy was just the veil over truth. What's fact? What's fiction? I don't know. What I do know is that we are all capable of being time travelers if we avail ourselves of the indwelling Holy Spirit, the omniscient and ever-present person of the Trinity, that can work outside of time and in it, providing revelation to the believer.
Here's a fun one. It did close the video out with this.
What's up, guys? Did war? We should.
Need Overwatch on that roof? Like right now? Aerosol. The Connex delivered hot and fresh. Packed with mission essential equipment. Sounds like an aerosol. And for when you really piss off Uncle Sam, a 105mm howitzer. Prime delivered right to your door.
That's just fun. I wasn't. It's not. That's not what I was trying to show you.
Only that even and it's that he would start World War III. One of the soldiers.
But then the question is, but the problem is bureaucracies do not like secret societies. So you have to maintain.
This I had to post these. I was like, all right, algorithm, you need to settle down. You're having too much fun showing me these shits right after the other.
If you guys are doing bad things together, okay? Now you have blackmail on each other. And therefore, you're committed to keeping each other's secrets. If one of you falls down, everyone falls down together. Okay? So now you're committed to making the secrets. But the problem is this. The problem is, okay, it's conspiracy, but the moment you're found out, they'll come and arrest you. So how do you work together but actually meeting each other? And the answer is religion. Okay? Or the word we use is eschatology. Religion is just a script, an understanding of the world that allows you to coordinate secretly. Okay? Does all this make sense? Okay. So now these secret societies, they are embedded in mass bureaucracy, and they're manipulating the bureaucracy, and they're working together to commit transgression. They have their own secret religion. Okay? When you combine these three together, what happens is that they're now forced to invert this understanding, inversion.
It's so funny because when he said, I was just thinking when he said, does this make sense? Anybody seen that fucking dumb ad where they're trying to tell you what to say instead? And at one point they go, somebody says, does this make sense? And they fucking, and they tell you to say, let me clarify instead. Like, no, dumbass. You say, does this make sense? If somebody says no, then you say, let me clarify. You don't say, let me clarify. Let me clarify what? Like, anyway. Stickler.
Because they know, like, they're doing evil in this world. So when they go meet God, God's going to punish them, right? So the way to get around this is, well, I will just worship someone who's superior to God, who is Satan, okay?
The dumbest way to get around shit I've ever heard.
Okay. So
It's more like cope than anything else.
Okay? By serving Satan, they can now justify all their transgressions, right? As a way to
It's not how that works.
empower Satan.
I'm not saying he's
Also,
wrong. I'm just
there's a
saying they're dumb.
fundamental weakness in this system, okay?
Like this is cope.
So let's go over the three main characteristics of the system. The first
You're-
is unity.
You're not like transmuting
So this
anything.
power
You're
system
just
is
putting your
completely
chips
unified.
on the other guy.
Second is symmetry. Symmetry or polarity.
Like
And what
this is all
means
dependent upon
is
whether
that
or
if
not
there's
you
good,
win the
there must
final
be evil.
battle.
If there's ugliness, there must be beauty. Why? Because you cannot have one without the other, okay? One thing is meaningless without the other. That's why you have God, you must have Satan, okay? And the third principle is as above, so below. And what this means is that everything is a reflection of each other. So you can never defeat God, but what you can do is corrupt human beings to worship Satan so that Satan becomes everything. Okay? Right? Are you guys following along? Okay? So what you're trying to do is you're trying to invert this world. And how do you invert this world? Well, what you do is, you know that hell is material. And you know that heaven is spiritual, right? What you do is you brainwash people to worship the material world and abandon the spiritual world. You make money, power, technology, science, the greatest things in the world. Okay? You get rid of God. You get rid of religion. You get rid of compassion. You get rid of love. And that's how you control the world. So in other words, what is happening today is a war between heaven and hell. The people in charge, the secret societies, they are interested. They must make hell into heaven and heaven into hell. They must invert the world in order to maintain their power. Okay? And that's what we'll be focusing on for the rest of the semester. This war between heaven and hell.
Only the Jew knew that by an able and persistent use of propaganda, heaven itself can be presented to the people as if it were hell, and vice versa. The most miserable kind of life can be presented as if it were paradise. The Jew knew this and acted accordingly, but the German, or rather his government, did not have the slightest suspicion of it. During the war, the heaviest of penalties had to be paid for that ignorance.
Mina, we have enough fun here, algorithm, to I don't know. Go explore.